Welcome back to another edition of Selling Point. Today our topic is low-hanging fruit. Let me kind of flesh that out a little bit. Literally when you talk about low-hanging fruit, it's that ability to reach up and grab it off of the tree. And we used to do that. We'd make trips up to the North Georgia mountains, which is the apple capital of the world. And we'd take our grandson up there, and we would pay for one flat price. They'd give you a bag and you go walk through the orchard and pick whatever apples that you want until you fill up your bag. And so I would put my grandson up on my shoulders. He was very small at the time, and we would go through and we would pick apples. And so in the literal sense, that was low-hanging fruit. Obviously, we couldn't get the ones that were way up the tree. We didn't have a ladder. And so when you relate that to sales, in sales, low-hanging fruit is typically when you have a product or service that's fairly simple and easier for you to sell. I say easier instead of easy because nothing in selling is particularly easy. But to flesh that out, about, 35 years ago, last century, I came to work for a nationwide pest management company, and I came on board as a branch manager trainee. I wanted to manage one of their locations because I was interested in down the road entering their sales training department. And so I came there with 20 years of selling experience, but I didn't know bupkis about the pest management industry. And so they enrolled me in a 9-month training program, which is kind of standard for that company. And basically what you did is you would rotate from one position to the next and spend 1 month in each position. So I would be a sales guy for a month. I'd be a service manager for a month. I'd be an admin person for a month. And so it would give you enough working knowledge so that so that your boss, the region manager, would be happy with your performance and would feel comfortable assigning you your own location. But at the same time, it would help you with those future employees because you'd know enough about every aspect of the business that they would not be able to pee on your leg and tell you it was raining. So that's what we did. So my first month out, my training manager, the manager that was assigned to mentor me through that process, he said, what I'm going to do for this first month, he said, is we're going to put you in pest control sales because he said that's our low-hanging fruit. Okay, so he said that's the simplest, the easiest, the quickest to learn service that we sell. And so he made me up a quota that month and said, I want you to sell 30 pest control service agreements to 30 new customers this month. Well, I didn't know, whether that was a lot or whatever, but I said, well, okay. So I got a little basic training, watched a couple of videos, and had a little talk with a couple of technicians that, helped me to kind of orient myself to what that really meant. And then off I went. Now, that was in the month of October that year, and I quickly found out that most of the summertime pests were disappearing, and the wintertime pest had not made an appearance yet. And so I was a little nervous, and especially from the fact that I was not provided hardly any leads during that month. I was expected to self-generate my own prospects. And so we took off, and that's what we did. Now, the saving grace there was at that company, their agreement covered 15 common household pests, so it gave me, a little more latitude on places to go and things to talk about. And so, I would take off and would go off and see people and have selling conversations with them. And I would talk to folks that were starting off with just my personal friends. I went to my friends, I went to my family, I went to my neighbors, I went to church people that I was familiar with, and would strike up that conversation, and hopefully that would lead to a selling conversation. I went to small businesses. I went to places where I was the customer. And like my barbershop and like a dry cleaners, even my church. I talked to the pastor there and asked him, what are you guys doing here to handle any pest issues that pop up? And so I ended up during that month period of time talking to about 200 people in order to make those sales. Now, good news was when the end of the month rolled around, I'd worked real hard, that I did make those 30 sales that he was expecting me to make. When after that happened, he said that was pretty good performance for a rookie that didn't know anything about the business. One thing that helped me with that you might want to take note of is I used a strategy that I had used in a prior selling job of what I would call reward and punish. And what that simply meant is I would break down that monthly goal into a weekly goal, and then I would go out, and by Friday night when it rolled around, if I had not met my goal, I would punish myself, and I would come back and work on Saturday trying to catch up and get prepared for the new week. If I did make my selling goal by Friday night, then I would reward myself and would take the Saturday off and would spend time with the family and do whatever. So I did that, and that helped guide me as well. So when I would make a sale, I would ask those new customers to recommend me to a neighbor, to a friend, to people in their circle, and I would not just ask for a referral or or a recommendation, but I would also ask for an introduction, because if you've been in sales any length of time, you know that even if you get a referral from somebody, it still becomes a cold call unless they introduce you to that third party. And so that was a skill that I had honed before, and I practiced that as well. And then as I sold new customers myself, then I would go around their homes, and because whatever problem they had, typically in the pest world, those pests tend to migrate, and so it becomes a community problem. So I would go across the street or next door and talk to those neighbors about the situation and tell them that we had a little community problem. We had an outbreak of rodents or an outbreak of ants, whatever the situation might have been with the person that I actually sold. So I ended up averaging a sale a day, not because I was an expert, but rather because I just stayed extremely active and extremely busy and talked to a lot of people. I work with the philosophy of a blind groundhog will find an acreage somewhere if he continues to forage. And so therefore, I think that whatever you sell can become low-hanging fruit as well if you talk to enough people about it, and then when you have the conversation, make sure you ask them to buy. So I hope this selling point made sense to you and is something that you can apply in your business life. And if you haven't done it already, reach up there and hit that subscribe button and then the notification button so that you won't miss any future episodes of Selling Point as we put them on the channel. Have a great week.